Stealth action games are another one of my dear loves, and that's what led me to this indie cult hit by Linceworks Aragami. A quaint little title that takes some heavy inspiration from the Tenchu series of games. Now, I have some experience with the first Aragami title, but just between you and me, this game kinda boo-boo. I still dig the concept of avoiding sources of light to stay strong and hugging the shadows to keep your supernatural abilities at the ready. The look the game had was super unique, and for the most part, it was a functionally sound game. However, I didn't like how one-sided encounters were if you happened to get caught. The enemies had these light swords that could slash light waves at you, and if you get hit one time, that's a death. It wasn't impossible, and it's nothing I would go out of my way to seriously bash or disrespect. It just didn't really have much to keep me playing, and it fell off my radar entirely for many years. Until one day, IGN shadow dropped a developer showcase for an apparent follow-up, and wow, what a complete overhaul. I'm a little bummed that they ditched the cell shading look and went with more grounded colors and shading choices. This dude over here looking like Moon Knight, that would have been a really cool way to go through the game if I had thought about it, dang. But everything else is just wow, what an upgrade. I put it on my calendar and I waited. And then we got busy renovating a house, check the card up top if you're curious, then my computer broke for over 2 months and I was forced to leave it incomplete. But now that I have the time and my precious is back, let's take a little stroll to see if I can recommend Aragami 2. Now, the main gist of Aragami 2 is set up eerily similar to Tenchu Z. There are exactly 51 missions to tackle, and just like in Tenchu Z, there are a handful of large open areas that missions take place in. After you complete each mission, you're sent back to this hub area village to upgrade your abilities, equip new items and cosmetics, progress the story, then pick up a mission to do it all over again. Again, it's formulaic, but it does its job well. I really don't feel like I need to explain how a stealth game works to you guys. Do I? You have to do your best to stay out of the enemy's line of sight by using the environment, whether that be a wall you can hug, a window you can peer into, or a perch you can perch upon. You got to avoid the enemy, making them easier for you to eventually pick off, whether that be a quick kill with your sword or a non-lethal fist-induced nap. The choice is yours. This is the main draw of stealth games, or at least for me, I guess. Studying the enemy's movements, seeing what their routine is, and then taking action to make sure they never see you coming. As far as that goes, I think Aragami 2 gets a passing grade. The biggest strength this game holds is how good it feels to play. The animations and sound design have been vastly improved over the first. The knockout animation feels weighty, and the assassinations are visceral. I'm also a big fan of the new abilities you have at your disposal this time around. There's a skill tree that kinda has something going with helping you carve a playstyle out, but more on that in a second. Most of the abilities are passives, but you can unlock some extra moves, like the distance takedowns, like Shadow Pull and the lethal Shadow Strike.
Okay, that's incredible. That makes everything better. How do you do it?
And my favorite ability in the game has to be the double takedown passive. If you kill or take down an enemy and another enemy is close enough, a shadow copy will spawn and instantly take the other out. In conjunction with the distance takedowns, it just became a lot of fun to mess around with. The game has also just seen a big improvement in the speed department. You're not stuck skulking around in the shadows anymore. You can dash and zip from ledges and objects. If you dash when standing, then you'll zip in the direction you were facing. It works just as well in the air too, but my favorite is the dash jump. Hopping from rooftop to rooftop never failed to get a smile out of me. And if you dash when crouching, you'll do a little shadow roll, but it's just enough length to warp across the enemy's line of sight. And check this out. So if you start aiming a ledge grab at a roof or something, I think it's pretty easy to see this game's biggest influence clear as day. If you squeeze the trigger, you won't throw your grapple hand at the ledge, but you will instantly dash to it, so you can go nuts and dash away, or at least until you run out of stamina. This is nothing especially outstanding because, let's be honest here, this is a lifted framework. They might have added some adjectives to make the word count higher, but they still copied their classmates' homework, and in some very obvious ways. Along with significantly retooled movement and stealth systems, Aragami 2 also decided to try its hand at combat. But for as ambitious as it is, it's 100% the most disappointing aspect of this game. You have a light attack and a heavy attack that you use to whittle down the enemy's posture meter. And if this zoom in and pose before the execution doesn't ring any bells, I don't know what to tell you. The combat and the movement system on a visual front is taking heavy inspiration from my favorite From Software title. Now, borrowing ideas and mechanics from other games isn't a bad thing, far from it, but when you do so, you have to be prepared to receive criticism when your parody doesn't live up to the expectations of what came before. This combat system doesn't even hold a candle to Sekiro. Basic strikes feel awful to land with no good visual indicators like particle effects or enemy reactions. The player is often left with no idea what's going on, compounded by the attempt to mimic Sekiro's counter maneuvers. Similar to the adventures of the one-armed furry, there are special attacks that enemies can use which have to be evaded a certain way, whether that be to dodge left or right or jump over an attack. These were some of my favorite moments from Sekiro, but once again, the lack of solid indicators and character animation for enemies makes everything so difficult to decipher in the heat of a fight. It boiled down to me mindlessly mashing the attack button too many times to count. In all likelihood, combat was probably created as a solution to the problem that the first game had: the instant death of the light sword slashes. It's truly admirable that they would go so far as to make an entire combat system to correct an unfair power balance, but it's amateur at best and also makes ranking at the end of each mission a bit confusing. As you would expect, you're graded at the end of each mission depending on how optimally you performed. So if you get caught, you should be restarting the mission to save yourself some time, because it's not like beating the enemy that caught you will result in your score being repaired or something. No, that score is now messed up. There are certain ranks to get depending on how you took care of the enemies. Ghost is killing every enemy without being seen, Spirit is not killing any enemies while also not being seen, and Demon is just going nuts and killing enemies in any way you can. So engaging in the lackluster combat could be a means to still getting the Demon rank if that's what you're after, but it still comes across as convoluted. It's at its absolute worst when multiple enemies are alerted at once though. But hey, the same thing can also be said for the enemies when you bring friends along. Yes, the second best thing about this game is the ability to play through the entire game with two friends. Sneaking around and coordinating stealth kills, leaning on each other's skill sets to set up cool takedowns or help get your buddy out of a bind was surprisingly fun. If I had to make one complaint though, check this out. When I look at the key art for this game, it makes it seem like each player should be able to pick a class or specialize in one specific area, be it stealth, movement, or combat, right? But that's not the case here. Granted, the skill tree provided has the potential to give players a different experience depending on what path they go down, but there are a lot of skills that most players would just unlock because they're great moves to have, potentially leading to squads that aren't very interesting and can always get around issues by using the same tactics over and over. I was only able to steal Nick away for about an hour or two, but it was a lot of fun. I imagine it would be even better if three friends could coordinate an entire playthrough together. Just the thought of that gets the recommendation from me immediately. God, that would be so much fun. As far as the levels go, areas have been boxed in depending on what mission you select. So you could be taking a route through the mines and then back up the cliffside in one mission, then raiding the nearby estate in the next, only for another mission to open up the entire play area. Mission objectives are pretty standard fare for stealth games. Assassinate these targets, collect these items, capture this target. It's very formulaic stuff, all things considered, like we've been over. And finally, I'll just say that the cutscenes are terrible. Some of these straight up made me laugh though. I mean, hey, if you're gonna copy someone's homework, you have to be prepared to miss the questions they got wrong too, because Tenchu definitely missed that cutscene question too. And I can't be the only one who thought this, but these cameras following the characters in the cutscenes, it looks like something I would make in Halo 3's theater mode back when I was a kid. Couldn't help but find that a little funny. But, yeah, that's all I've got to say on it though. The story didn't grab me in the slightest, the music was pretty meh, the combat has potential but needs some serious revision, but the stealth gameplay is absolutely worthwhile if you have some friends to go through it with you. Collectibles for cosmetics are hidden in every level and even the hub world for you to find, which could make for a very fun evening or evenings with the boys. I just hope that should this game get another sequel, they do their best to refine the combat and place more emphasis on the multiplayer through character specializations. Don't be afraid to lock off some abilities to only specific classes and make players work together to solve tough missions, which this game actually has. A bunch of them are really tough. I'd be more than willing to give an Aragami 3 a shot if we can make some of those changes. And I think this one is on Game Pass, so if that's how you like to live your life, I would say definitely give it a shot. I think we can all safely say that Season 4 had a very unexpected and anticlimactic ending to it, which I genuinely want to apologize for. I really did plan for so much more to happen before 2021 came to a close. I think that planned movie review for the Season 4 finale will just have to be pushed back to either this season's finale or even sooner, I don't know. I really am sorry about that, but it will happen, as well as a lot of other great things this year, but I just wanted to thank you for watching this video and hope that you'll stick around, because next time we meet, I'll be looking at either Bright Memory Infinite or Pokemon Legends Arceus. It really just depends on how long Pokemon is going to be, which will determine whether or not I break it up with the smaller video that Bright Memory Infinite will be, but I hope that you'll stick around for that anyway, because I would love to have you. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching. So thanks for stopping by, and have a great day.